Hiya, and welcome to a solo this week in WWE from Unfiltered Wrestling. Unfortunately, Lee can't make it today, so you've just got to put up with this lovely face for today. Okay, let's get on with some of the news. And it's been a really strange week in wrestling. Um, Raw was a major letdown, and I think that's continued from last week where the shows were just not good enough. I think SmackDown brought it up a little bit, but there are concerns that WWE is starting to coast a little bit. Um, Matches, whilst good, it's the angles and the stories that we appear to be telling, along with the finishes quite often being some sort of disqualification, some sort of distraction, some sort of like running. It just doesn't feel like WWE were a couple of months ago where they were kicking on and the stories were telling great in the moment. Um, right, let's start with some of the positives. And on behalf of both Lee and myself here at Unfiltered Wrestling, we'd like to congratulate Naomi and Jimmy Uso um, with the news of the incoming child. So that's great news. It really is. It's such a positive to hear such good things from wrestling when there is a lot of negativity around. And I think it is important that people understand that there is real life outside of wrestling. And this news was great. But there, on top of this, Naomi cut probably one of the best heel promos as you're going away. And I think that's fantastic. I know when she comes back, she will be cheered, which is a shame because this character was really growing into herself. I was looking forward to seeing where we could go next. But the problem with Naomi's absence is that we now have a void for the Women's World Championship. Obviously, Stephanie Vaquer will have a title shot at Clash of Paris, but who do you raise up to that level? I would have said it would have been Io Sky, but Io seems to be coming into a feud with Asuka, and Kairi Sane becoming sort of like a who's she going to side with moment. This that program alone will be fantastic, but is it right to separate it to then get Io and Stephanie in a match, which, by the way, will be fantastic. The two times they've got into the ring, the chemistry was amazing. They will go somewhere down the line. However, I don't think it's the right time to put them there. So the next question you have is who do you put on the flip side? If WWE were trying to fix in, then maybe Becky would be the answer. Put her in as somebody that Stephanie could go over just to show that she's a solid championship contender. But I think that then devalues the Intercontinental belt, which she's worked so hard to bring up to this level again. So what WWE need to be careful of is not throwing someone else under the bus. And I think this goes to the issue that the Raw Women's division has. Whilst it has amazing wrestlers in the ether, the likes of Stephanie Vaquer, Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, they're great wrestlers, but you don't want to go face on face with those matches. It will not end well. So I don't know where we should go with that point. And again, if you then drop it down and we go down to the likes of Becky, I think you're going to get into a lot of trouble. So I'll be interested to see how WWE get around this problem long term for them. So that is the issue Raw's women's division has. The flip side to SmackDown's women's division, we had a great tag match between Jade and Tiffany Stratton versus Nia Jax and Becky again making an appearance in her hometown of Dublin. Again, solid match. What it left me feeling was I want to see Tiffany and Becky now go at each other. I don't know where we go with the women's belt on SmackDown purely because both women deserve a crack of it. And I think this is where we need to decide, are we going to turn Jade heel or not? Because if she's going to turn heel, then you have to give her the belt. If not, let's see if we can go 12 months with Tiffany, and then Tiffany drops the belt somewhere closer to WrestleMania. I'm going to stay with Becky again, and this time it's the Intercontinental match, and her match with Natalya was solid, but obviously we're building up to this Brie match, and I believe that's taking place at Clash at Paris, which I think they'll have great chemistry and we'll go somewhere for that. But I think we're leading on to a Bayley match. Again, another Bayley promo. She's starting to show a little bit more of the character development. I think this could be really good. We have to be careful with Bayley. I think if you keep changing her character too much, or should we say her gimmick, then WWE are going to really struggle to keep her near the top where she should be, because she is a top star. She should be a champion for more often than she has been. She's a hard worker. It's what can WWE do with her. This will bring me on to the final, and we'll get on to the women's. I'll finish the women's division in just a second. We'll talk about Charlotte and Alexa. They're showing up and doing great shows. Charlotte is getting some of the best pops I've seen for her in years. This is brilliant work. And she's giving people, the match against Piper Niven was really solid. Piper got in a lot. She looked good. And Charlotte took a pin. Oh, yes, it was a distraction finish, but she took a pin. And I like that from her. I think this is working really well. My question is, this has surely got to lead to Alexa and Charlotte splitting and one of them turning on the other. I just think we need to be careful. We don't need to overdo it. This will bring on to the last of the women's actions, and that is what I can describe as the biggest letdown of 2025, and that is Julia's United States Championship title reign. It has been poor. WWE booked it really badly. Another interaction between Michin and Julia, and I'll be honest, I think maybe we need to move the belt onto Michin. I love Julia. I think she's a great wrestler, but she's just not getting there, or WWE doesn't know how to book her properly, and because of that, they're really, really struggling on how this can go forward. So for me, Michin probably needs to take that belt and then move it onto someone else. Again, this is the big issue with the SmackDown part. Where do you go? Maybe you start bringing up from NXT, slowly start dripping it in, or do you try and replicate what Raw did with the Intercontinental belt and give it to somebody of a high stature who can elevate that belt and take it to the next level? One of my big gripes this week's from both, generally more SmackDown, but it has been creeping over the wall. WWE are really heavily relying on tag matches at the moment. This is causing them big grief because they're just not there. We're just constantly getting tag matches upon tag matches. Yes, SmackDown has an absolutely phenomenal tag team division. Adding to the fact we've now added MFT and Melo Don't Miz, which I would expect to separate because Carmelo Hayes looks ready to go face, to get the pop, to get the push that he definitely deserves. But we're getting too many tag matches, and this is really impacting because the only other match that took place was a singles match on SmackDown that was based on a tag team feud. So that one is going to come in. And I think that's WWE's need to start thinking about it. As I said, they're struggling a little bit. So where do we go from this point of view? What I'm going to mention from here, though, is the phenomenal work that Logan Paul and John Cena are doing to elevate their match. I'm going to come out and say I think Logan Paul is going to win this match. I think that's how you get a rub. That's how he'll get pushed up it again. We know John's not ready to just gatekeep and say no, you can't do it. I think he'll let him go. I think the comments that John's making in these promos, They're working really well, and WWE are working to push Paul in the right direction finally. Yes, as Lee and I have both said, it frustrates us to know how good he is with the little experience he's had. And to mention he's only had 23 matches is incredible, because this is a guy who looks like he's had like hundreds of matches. But while we talk about John, the ending of SmackDown where Brock Lesnar's name is mentioned, this could pose again another roadblock. I imagine that match probably takes place in Crown Jewel in Australia. You can't push it much further than that. I imagine John will be involved in the War Games. He's never done a War Games, so his last time probably makes sense to give him part of the War Games group. So that's something I think you should consider. I imagine that Logan will probably get a win via a DQ finish, or not a DQ, a play-in from Brock, which will cover John, but also gives Logan Paul a push. Again, I want to go back to their promo. It was really good back and forward, and John got away with making profanities popular again in the UK. So, well done, John. We love a bit of that. I think what we also need to remember is Logan is here to stay. People want him gone. He's not going anywhere. And I think, like John says, he will win a world title, just hopefully not in the next 18 months. I think if you can hold off for that amount of time, we're going in the right direction. Talking of the SmackDown Undisputed Championship, Cody's missing, and I think that's having an impact on SmackDown. Okay, he's currently out filming the Street Fighter movie, but I imagine he will be back shortly. He's only out for a short amount of time, so I know people are saying possibly a Drew Cody match at Clash in Paris. I don't think that's a wise idea. I think you try and hold that off. Maybe you have Cody come back. Maybe what we're looking for is what happened with the Drew McIntyre angle. He's doing a really good job of keeping the feud going. He's highlighting all of these points. But Randy Orton made a return, and I think that's the way you go for Clash in Paris. You get that through. You then have Drew beat Randy and then challenge Cody for the title. Again, probably in Australia, it's a bigger match. It's a bigger environment. I think both these guys can do a really good job. I just think Cody missing is hurting the brand. As I've said many times, if your world champion isn't there, then you are in trouble at all times. If we flick over to Raw now, that's not an issue with Raw, as we now have a fatal four-way. I know Lee mentioned it before, but I like the interactions between CM Punk and LA Knight. I think that's a feud that you go down the line later. I think that would work really well. But adding Jey Uso to it, and I will disagree with Lee on this front, I think Jey Uso is not an Ultimate Warrior clone. I think we are doing something with him. But I also think he'll probably eat the pin in Paris to give Seth that little go along for a little bit longer. I still believe we're going to have Seth versus CM Punk at WrestleMania. That makes more sense to me. Probably give Punk a Rumble win. It really works. Roman Reigns returning as well. Adding to this, I think what we're getting is a lot of layers for future matches. So this is working really well. The group is working well. The other thing I want to mention is WWE are doing a really good way in which they're protecting people like Bron Breakker. This Extreme Rules match was only ever going to end up in like interference all the way through. So why not cover it? We're in Phoenix. We're in Philadelphia. This works. WWE did a good job there, but that's it. They just need to start pushing on. Both Bronson Reed and Bron Breakker need victories, and they need victories over solid opposition. So let's see where WWE can do this. As I say to you, it's where the Knight Punk feud goes afterwards. LA Knight is still over like Rover. But what do we do long term with him? We've moved him to Raw. Unless you're going to put him in a feud with Dominic Mysterio for the IC belt, I think we need to sort of take some time with him, start rehabbing him, give him some good feuds. CM Punk is a really good example of that. You'll get him over, that'll push him further up the line. As I said with Jey Uso, Jay's still there. He will be an upper mid-card guy for quite a while, especially with the news that Jimmy is obviously going to be helping Naomi during her pregnancy, and that's great to hear. But that will also flip us to SmackDown with the MFT storyline, and this feels like this is stalling. WWE are, again, spinning those wheels. I liked the match, although it still felt a little bit clunky. I like that Sammy's now involved in this. I think this takes a little bit of pressure off Jimmy to be the only guy, along with Jacob. And if I was WWE, I'd put the belt on Sammy. Even if it's just for 1 week, I'd put the belt on Sammy in France, just so it adds a little bit of exposure. I've said to a lot of people, Sammy is the guy I think will also headline WrestleMania. I think he needs to take on a heel Drew McIntyre and take the belt off him that way. Put him on SmackDown probably works better for him. But the MFT story is stalling. We need to get on and do something more with it. Okay, and so just to wrap the video up a little bit, there are a lot of rumours around that Vince McMahon was seen backstage on SmackDown. I know Leah's made videos about him. He's not gone. There are rumours that he is still around in the company, even after being quietly gone. He's too heavily involved in wrestling just to let go. And again, we can only stress this, whilst they are serious allegations, they are allegations. Currently, until the lawsuit is finally prepared, he hasn't currently done anything wrong. And whilst we all have our own opinions about it, myself included, I want people to be realistic that if they think Vince McMahon is just going to disappear now, you're crazy. He will be in and about wrestling for quite a while. So you guys are going to just have to live up with this. More rumours that Brock Lesnar, as I said earlier, will probably make an appearance sooner rather than later. I think that's the right idea. If we're going to have a match, let's keep him out of the limelight unless we have to tell a good story. John and Logan is working for me. He only has to be involved in a finish to then set up another match. I'd keep him off telly for as long as possible. Just have him go to the match. Overall, WWE has had a really weird couple of weeks. I'm hoping after we get out of Paris, we'll go forward somewhere. What I will say is John mentioned AJ Styles' name. And again, in Europe, he is like loved all over the place. So I think WWE needs to take this into consideration. AJ's on probably his last year of his contract. He's getting ready to retire. I think he needs to have a final push at the title, and that would be where I would go. Whether he gets it or not, give him that opportunity, give him the big fans. I think everybody will love this. Okay, I've been Tim, and this has been a podcast by Unfiltered Wrestling. Please watch our videos, subscribe, and add your comments, because I promise you we really do read them, and we want to hear your views. So please continue contacting us, and we'll see you on the next video.